Hello, I'm audible. Good evening. Okay, okay. So we'll start in a while. Wait for others to join. Right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, we'll start in a while. So as I mentioned yesterday, we are going to start the Express.js or the Express framework into the Node.js, right? Express framework. Okay. So yeah, there are a lot of things which are going to explore today. So I want to see your excitement into the chat box directly. Just drop Express and Mongo or Mon into the chat box so I can have a look directly over there. All of you are excited? I think I'm audible clearly, right? So I think all of you are excited and we'll start in a while, just in moment, right? So yesterday, we worked on a project where we have explored the npm packages and we did different kind of operations over there, the mathematical operations with the help of our custom modules or modules in node.js which we used. So now we'll start that project again. Webstorm, I'm starting that webstorm, and we'll continue our uh, workshop into that project only, right? So we're going to have a quick recap. What we did yesterday is, so yesterday we created a project of Node.js with the help of a command called npm init. So for creating a new Node.js project, you'll need to uh, hit the command npm init. Once you are hitting this, so it will ask you for the package name, means your project name. So we'll we'll need to type this project name, and then it will ask for the description, the main file version, uh, scripts, keywords, respectively. So this is how you can initiate a Node.js project into your directory or project directory. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Okay, so after this, we had explored the basic module function into the Node.js. We created some of the modules, one module, and we had some of the optional function over there: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and we exported all of these functions. So this was in a modular type. Okay, module.js, and yesterday we also saw that the common JS type to export and import the modules, right? And we also explored some of the npm packages, the cat names, country list, joke generator, node one, and time zone converter, right? So today we'll also again going to have a look onto that. So it's a quick recap we are going to do today. So this is our index.js file where we had written all of these functions and we imported the modules and okay, so mention all the functions, and let's start the server right now. So for starting the server, we'll use the command npm start. So now you can see the hello world is printed and the mathematical operation has been done. Then the country data is printed. Then the flags are printed. Okay, and after that we have converted the time uh, to US time, right? And then there is a joke. Okay, so this is what we did yesterday, and from today we are going to explore the express and node, right? Like express node and mongo together today and tomorrow. So yeah, how we can create a proper HTTP server, how we can send the request. So we'll look on to few of the HTTP request. So what is HTTP? We also have to look onto that as well. So I want your like reactions and your chat, your engagement into chat box, so I can answer your questions as well. Okay, so all of you are excited. Just type mon or node into the chat box so I can see your excitement, right? And we can move ahead. Okay. So yeah, a lot of things we are going to have look today. Yep. Okay. So I'll stop the server first. So we have stopped the server, and I'll clear the screen, the terminal screen, and we are going to remove all of these files, imported modules from our index.js, and from today we'll create a new file called server.js. Okay. So I am going to remove this index.js and deleting this, and we are going to change this main file as server.js. Okay, so we are done with this. So we'll remove all of these other files as well, the country data.json and all. And as we don't want uh, these libraries, okay, the cat names and all, time zone converter, we don't want this one as well. Okay, allow me a minute. Okay. So I think I'm audible again. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, let's have a look onto the Express. What is Express? So it's a framework for like it's a web framework where we can create RESTful APIs and host web pages without Node.js server, right? Or Node.js. Yesterday we had created a server with the module HTTP, but this will be something different which we are going to do today. Okay. So yeah, I have written server.js over here. So we'll create a file called server.js. Server.js. So this is our file. And in this file, our server configuration will be going to uh, happen, right? So today we'll have a look onto the APIs, RESTful APIs, and what is JSON and all. Okay. So with the Express, we can create web applications, APIs, performance, middlewares. Okay, and a lot of things with this, right? So now I can show you how you can do this, right? So there's a command npm install express. Okay, so you need to paste this because we are installing the npm package directly into our project. So for that, we'll need to turn on our terminal and we are going to paste this command. You can even use npm I express. So this will install that. So now you can see in our npm package.json, there is express is installed. The express version is there for. Okay, so yeah, after this, now we are done with this. But the main important thing which we'll need to do is the changes into the server.js, right? And also here, yeah. So as we have to create a server, we'll need to click onto the getting started and the we are done with our installation of Express. We're done with all of these things, right? So we'll go to the hello world, right? So these are the three important commands: const express. With this, we are requiring or we are importing our Express app module directly into the server, right? And there is port which will be our exposable like application will be gonna expose on that port on that web server, right? So we'll copy this three commands, right? And you can see we can even take the port from .env file, which is the environment variable file. We do write the environment over here .env. So in this we'll write the environment, and in this we'll write the port equal to 3000. So we can use this port directly with this, right? Or here, if it doesn't have that port, so it will gonna take the port from env, right? The environment. So, so now you can see we are going to run our server. It's not going to do anything, right? It's gonna return an error because our project is in the ECMAScript module scope right now, not in CommonJS. So we'll need to use the import method instead of uh, this require, right? So for that, import express from express. So this will be the method which we'll need to use. Now you can see our server is started, right? And there's nothing to do. So we'll clear this again and we'll start again. Yeah, you can see there is none of a single error is there. Okay, so we are done with the configuration. These are the basic configuration. You'll need to import the express from the express module. Then you'll need to define your app, express app. And with this app, we'll use some of the functions of express and we'll create different APIs on this web server, right? So yeah, right now our uh, like these are two commands we are going to copy from this express documentation and we are going to paste this. Okay, so now you can see there are two functions are there. This is app.get. Get is it is for the route, and app.listen it's to start the express server onto this port. Okay, so yeah, you can see right now when I save this example app listening on port 3000. Okay, so it says that this application or your software or your web server is running onto the port number 3000. So for starting this server into our web browser, you need to write localhost 3000. So you can see it's returning hello world, right? This port is returning hello world. So this is how the web servers uh, this web server is hosted over there onto this route. Okay, and it's returning hello world. Now you can see it's returning hello world. It's sending the response of this request, right? So let me show you what are the HTTP methods, because these are the most important things that you need to understand about, like the HTTP method, right? So before that, I'll also show you an example. So if I'm writing hello over here, so now if I'm like running this, so it's gonna tell me that cannot get, right, cannot get or something, right? Okay, so if I am going to hello, now it's returning that hello world, right? Because this is something where we are like particularly uh, rendering our like or returning our response to the server, right, to the client, right, from the server. So if a client is requesting on hello, okay, so it's gonna send as a response as hello world, right? So this is what we did, right? We can even do a few other things as well. So if I just want the current time into this, right, uh so I'll do one thing, date, due date, and yeah, that's all. It should return the written time. Yeah, you can see. So for that, if I'm creating any other route, okay, so let's say this is date route and it's going to return the date, the current date and time. So this web page is going to return me that date only. Okay, I hope it's visible, right? The date is Sunday, September 15, 2024, and this is the current time in IST. Okay, so now this is a normal HTML page or normal response of a request which has been sent by the server, our Express server. Now you need to understand how things works, right? So if we are going to create a route called time, okay, so we can create multiple routes. Let's do this time. So it's just gonna return me that same thing, right? Because it's returning the time as well. So if I just want the time, so I'll do some changes into like date to local time string. So it's just gonna return me the time. So this is how an Express server works, right? But why we do create a web server? Because see, there's a thing that you need to understand, which is called client server relationship. I'll show you an example architecture. So here, our browser is a client. Okay, our browser is a client, and the server which we have created, that is a local server. It's in my system right now. That is a local server, and whatever I am sending a request from this Chrome browser, it's going to a web server. Okay, it's going to a web server, and web server is returning the response. Okay, so there are some methods to just to request to the server. Now this is the request. It is this the request. This is the get request. We send this request on localhost 3000 time. So this is a endpoint. What is it? This is endpoint. It's called route or API endpoint. So once we are done with this, it's gonna return this time as we have this send method over here, right? So if I want to send if I want a HTML page in a single route, so I'll create a route app dot get. So here we'll create a route called HTML page. Now this is gonna return an HTML h1 tag, which is the HTML page, right? See, I'm going to refresh this and going to HTML. What was the route? HTML page, right? Page. So yeah, now you can see it's returning HTML page. Is that clear? This is how a web server serves the HTML page, right? Now it's sending the h1 tag into the body. It's a response body. It's not a HTML body. It's a response body. So we can even send the response in different methods, right? Right now, in this response body, it's sending the full HTML page. So let's check how it works, right? So now you can see the title of this request is changed. Okay. If I'm changing this title as HTML node, so it's gonna change here as well. Hope it's visible to you, right? Or if I'm making some changes into the tag contain, so it's also gonna return the same thing. So this is what Node.js Express server is. It's serving some content on a URL, on an endpoint, on an API endpoint, on a route, right? It's serving this HTML page. Serving is returning the response. It's responding to the request. So the request is so simple logic is there. Okay. So if on our app, Express app, if there is any get method request coming onto this URL or this endpoint, so it's gonna return, it's gonna send a response to the server. Now, if I want the request URL, right, into my HTML page or response, so what I'll do one thing only. See, I'll use this request parameter and first I'll create const URL URL. So now we'll use something like this. Now you can see it's returning our request URL, which is HTML page. It's our endpoint. Or if I want the host name of our, so it's gonna return something like this localhost HTML page. This is. So if I also want that port in between this. 3000 and this, right? Now you can see it's returning that only where we are on right now. So this is how the Express server works around us, right? Okay, cool. Now in this, we just returned an HTML page, right? Now if I want a request which should contain an object or an array of object or a JSON, right? So we'll create an object and we'll return the response res.json, and in this we'll write the JSON name Om Prakash. So we'll return age, city, right? So we have just have created the JSON endpoint. Now go to that one JSON. So it's returning the data into the JSON type. If okay, so there's a question from Deepak. So he is asking if I deploy, then how it will be going. Very simply, it's gonna return that same HTML page because you are deploying this web server. So whatever the request you have created, whatever routes you have created on the respective route, whatever the response is sending, that only gonna show on your client side. Okay, so this is a JSON endpoint we have created, and yeah, that's all. Right now, we are we just had a look on to the get request. Right now, what are the requests? Requests are the whenever we are whenever we want something, so we request, right? So in the web servers, right, or in the web applications, whatever the website is, if that website needs a single website to load image to load in the website, so it requests to the server where the image is hosted, and that server responds with the image file. So if I'm on a Google right now, I'm searching something, you can see, right? I'm searching hello world. So I'm sending a request to Google server directly. Okay. So it sends a request. So you can check out all the requests in the network calls. So a web server do send the request the uh, into a method like which is get post, okay, and sends a response particularly. So this was the request which was sent on the Google server, and it was a get request and got the response and all. So this is how a web server, there is a client and server relationship works. A client asks for a data and servers gives the data if the data is present into the database. So let's say now we are going to create a folder called controller. So these are the controller where we do write our module functions and the controllers. Okay. Now we'll be going to create a normal CRUD APIs for adding student, for deleting student data from the server. I'll create a file called student controller.js. So this is our file. In this file, we are going to create the student right data. So now let me show you one thing. We are going to create an array students, array of object students. So in this array of object, sorry, it's just an object. First student is second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay, there are 5 students are in our database right now. So this is a mock data, and what we'll do, we're gonna create a function get students. Is response, and now what we want is we are directly just going to send the response res.json directly, okay, to the server. Now we'll come to the app dot get. So we are going to create a get request, and this request will be students. Okay, students. Now we want that function should run when we are like calling to this API. So what was this function? Get students, right? Get students. So this was the function, but we'll need to import this function, right? We'll need to import this function. I have not imported this function. It's not exported, right? So we'll come over here, export, and in this, export it as, and we'll import it over here. So you can see it's here, right? Now, if we are running our web server on localhost 3000, and if I'm typing students, so yeah, it's returning me all of these 5 students, right? It's returning me in a data. So this is a simple API. What is it? It's a simple API, like application programming interface, where we used to transfer the data from different uh, uh, from one node to another node into web applications. Okay, so the type of this is JSON. What is it? It's a JSON, JavaScript object notation. Okay, I'll zoom. You can see. I hope it's visible. So in this, there are 5 items are there which we have in our mock data: first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and okay. So in this we have ID first, John Dio, then the second student, the third student, and the fourth and the fifth student, right? So this data we have into this student controller, right? Now, if I only want one student which has the ID, I want the fifth student only. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll try to create there are 2 types of parameters which we pass through the URL. The first parameter is query parameters, and the second parameter is a path parameter. Okay. So first we'll see that query parameter. So for calling with the query parameter, we use the question mark, and we are going to pass ID equal to 5. So now it should return the fifth student, but it's not returning. It's returning all of the students. So for that, we need to write a function, a new function, a module function, right? So we'll create a function, get one student. So now in this request comma response, we are going to take, and now in this we are going to write the other thing. So as we want the ID, so we are taking this ID from request parameter, right? Query parameter. So it's a query parameter. So for that request dot query, will use dot ID. Okay. So let's check. We'll console this console.log ID. So for that, you can see here will our console will gonna get written, not into the inspect tab, because this is on the server side. So if we want this, right? So for that, now it's a route student. Oh, students. We want the route as student only, right? We are gonna call this route, but it's not available because we have not created this route. So let's create this route as app.get, and in this we'll student, right? So this is our route, and we are gonna take this get one student function. So let's export this function with comma and get one student. Okay. Right now in our server.js, we need to import this. Now it's imported, and the app is running, right? stuff. Okay. I can see it's running, and let's see whether the ID 5 will uh, be on a print in the console or not. So right now I'm into this, and you can see the ID is written over there, right? It's printed because in this get one student uh, function, we just took the ID from the request, but we have not sent any response. Because of that only, it's continuously reloading the page, right? Or it's not, the request is not fulfilled yet. So yeah, now we'll do one thing. We'll remove this, and now we want a student. So we'll find one single student from that whole array. So for that, we'll create a variable student, and in this variable we want from students we'll find, so we'll use find function, and in this students we want a single student to store into this, so we'll use student dot id. We are mapping this, and we are comparing this id with the id which we have. So we'll use equal to, so this gonna do the comparison. Now we'll console this student. Okay, let's refresh our server again. Now it returned us this as undefined, right? Why it's undefined right now? ID is there, then let's try to send a response. This dot JSON and student, right? So it's not returning anything. This has 5 number, and we're just taking this over here. Student, okay. This student, we're just finding, right? It's over there. So we have ID students. So first we'll console all the students one by one, right? I'm going to comment this. Let's run this again. Okay, refresh. Const ID const student. So why it's again saying that student is undefined. It's already defined over here, right? We'll restart the server again. Okay. We'll use a tool called Postman because I don't think it's working properly into the Chrome, but it's okay. So this specific function do one thing only. In the student, it finds a single student which has the same ID. Okay, which has the same ID from that one student, right? So it compares and it returns the student, right? It's already defined, right? Student is defined. Still, it's showing that students it's not defined. Why I don't? Okay, so I think. Oh, hey, we got it. We are writing our function over there, and our request is different. Yep. Okay. So we'll do console. dot log first student, and first we'll do one more thing, like we want to print directly the all student into console, console.log students. So all of these are the students which we want to print directly, right? So let's console this, and you can see all of the students are printed over here, right? So if we want only one student, as we have the ID 5 over there, right? So with respect to that, we only want one. So we'll need to do a comparison or a equality check whether the ID is equal to the ID which is in the mock data. Okay. So this is how we'll need to work onto this. Is my screen is visible right now? Hello. You can type into the chat box as well. So as we did it right over here, so the student, it's showing the student did not define, right? It's still the student was defined here over here. I don't know why it's saying this, but yeah, we'll use to let student data or something. We'll change the variable name and we'll try to print this only. Let's start the server. It's still returning undefined. Okay, let's okay, let's do one thing. We'll only use directly the for each or something. Students dot for each. In this we want the JSON if the ID is equal to that one, right? So now you can see it's returning the data for fifth student only, right? Now it's returning the data of fourth student, okay, the ID which the student which has the fourth, right? Because the find method is not working into this, I don't know why, but yeah, still we can go with that for each one, right? If the student is not there, it should return something, the student is not exist in the database. So what we'll do, we'll call an else method, right? The student not found. So if the student is not there, if the zero ID student is not there, if the this ID student is not there, so it will return student not found. Okay, if the student is there, it's gonna return the data of the student directly, something like this. Okay, so this is how you'll need to do it with the query parameter. Okay, so now we'll learn about the path parameter. Okay, for requesting with the path parameter, you'll need to go to the server .js, and into this request, you'll need to do some modification, right? So what are those modifications? See, you'll add a endpoint and something like this ID. So now this is a path parameter. We just have created a path parameter. So we don't want this query. So we'll change this as param. Now it's gonna check from the path parameter only. So it's returning me error because we have not passed the path parameter. Now we'll pass the path parameter. So you can see. So I'm not passing the question mark, but I'm passing one. So it's returning the one student's database. And if I want to just showing student not found equals to it. Why it's showing, I don't know. Here is it. ID equal to 2. Is it sending twice the okay, let's take this. Come on, that one. One. So we'll need to like console this ID because I think the ID is not there. Let's check. It's printing one, right? It's printing one. It's printing two times. Okay, so this is how you can use the like the path parameters. For that, you need to use the params. Apart from this, you can even use the query parameters for just uh, finding only one student. So if I want to update the data of student, right? So I'll create a function called delete, or if I want to delete, right? Delete student request comma response. It's needed, right? Because we are taking the request and sending the response directly. So we'll be needing this const ID and all, right? We're going to first we'll parse this and we are going to create a delete request. Now you can see app.delete. So this is the request type delete. So this request you can send from API client, which is one of the Postman and all. So you'll need to install the Postman to work with the APIs. Now we'll call this function delete student. We'll need to export this function in our controller. So we have exported this function in our server.js. We'll need to import this function. So now it's imported. And now you can see we are going to pass the path parameter of the student in the delete request. Okay, so what will be the URL of that request is C. So this is our student. Here will be the ID will be there, right? So we'll use a path parameter. ID will be there, and the route is something student ID and delete student, right? So we'll need to send a delete request. Okay. So in this, we want to delete the student which has the value 1. So it should send a response that your student is deleted or something, right? First we'll console the ID because see you can see once I am hitting this request, so it's returning 1, right? Once again I'll show you. I'm hitting the request and it's returning 1, right? I'll remove this. Now we'll work over here only, right? If I want this request response directly, so I'll just do res.json, and in this we'll pass something like a message, something like this. So it's gonna return this message over here. You can see student deleted successfully, right? So it returned that. So it is successfully deleted. It's showing us that it's deleted successfully. So the delete request is used to remove any resources from the server. There are different types of requests are there. Get request is to retrieve a resource from the server. Post request is to create a new server resource on the server. Put it and patch are to update and replace the resource onto the server. And there are different many methods are there, but the get, post, put, patch, delete, these are the common and main methods which we usually use to do the operation with the server. I hope all of you understood, right? So we just showed the message, right, that the student is deleted. Now we'll actually delete the student from the array. Student will use the method splice, which is a method in array, right? Okay, 1 minute. I'll reshare my screen. So begin sharing my screen, right? Just let me know, is it visible or not? Is my screen is visible? Wait a minute. I'm fixing it, okay? Okay, I think it's visible, right? The screen is visible to you, right? Okay, cool. So yeah, we'll move ahead. So what we did, we used a method called slice, right? So what we'll do in this response, we'll also send one more of like a key value pair in this response, which is data, and in this data pair will pass the student data directly, right? So let's send the request, and we are sending the ID one. So you can see it's returning the student data directly, right? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, all the students are there. Okay, but we want the data of the deleted, like student deleted, right? So we'll do one thing. We'll copy this response.json and we'll we'll send the response from when where the student is deleted, right? So you can see the ID one and the ID one student should get deleted from this uh, right, yeah, we want this index number as 0 or something or ID, right? See, so our parameter is getting printed over here, but it's not sending the response, right? We'll do one thing. Check, but still we can do the operations like this, right? Deleting the student, getting the student, listing all the students and all. So we can create different APIs to work on to that only, right? Okay, so this was an example of the delete one. We can send the post request as well. So for sending the post request, we will create a route. Okay, app dot post. Now what we'll do? So post method is used to create a resource, means a new resource into the server. Okay, so this will be gonna use for new. Okay, we'll use this endpoint, and with this help of this endpoint, we'll call a function create new student, and we'll add a new student into this array, and we'll print that, right? So you can see we'll create a new function add student request response. What we are doing, we're pushing this body request body into this server, right? So you can see now we want new student added over here. Okay, so we'll use post request on student new endpoint. So this is our endpoint, and we want a new student to get created into the server. For that, we'll need to pass a JSON body, right? Because our data is returning the JSON response only, right? I'll paste this, and our student ID will be 6 now, and name will be Om, and yeah, we're sending this. So it's saying cannot post because I think the endpoint is mismatched. So let's check into the server.js. Hmm. Yes, we want to use this, willing to use and import this. Now we're done with this, and let's change the endpoint because this is our endpoint. Now let's do one thing. Send request to this. Now you can see there, there it's showing null, right? But we want that particular this Om dio over here with the ID 6. Let's check what happened, right? This add function. Okay. Now this add function, we pushed the student, right? So console dot log first will print the student. See, it's showing undefined because the request body is not returning anything, right? It's null, but we want this request body. Why it's null? We sent this body over there, but it's not showing anything. Wait a minute, I'm sending something. It's still showing undefined. Okay, pass the data directly. Student. It's showing just student ID successfully. It's adding the multiple arrays, right? You can see there are 3 students has been got added, but the data is null. Now it's 4, but still the data is null because it's pushing the undefined data into that data, right? That database. We want the proper. So we'll do one thing, request dot name, or sorry, ID will do, and let's check whether it's gonna return the ID or not. Yeah, it's not returning because it doesn't contain the ID. What we can do, because I don't know, because this is the issue of my own personal PC. It's returning the undefined right now over here. So we'll do one thing. If the body is null, we'll write a condition. If the body is null, so we can use something like this, that body dot name equal to this is equal to this, and body dot ID. We will need to use request dot body, right? Alex, sorry, student. Yeah, here we'll use Om. Now, if it is, if the body is returning the null right over there, so the student is undefined null or something, so it should, okay, create an object data. We want this data directly. We make changes into this direct. Oh, so we have created this, right? And we want this data, so we push the data. So now when we are sending a request to this, now you can see there is a new entry is there, omdio. If I'm adding again the same one, so there are two omdio are there. If this is third request, so there are three omdio are there. So this is the function to create a new. There's a request and function to create a new student into the mock data, right? Did you got it? Okay. So what we did, we just created a function and we connected the function with our post request. So these were all of the methods to like to just to retrieve the data, delete the data, post the data, and the other method we can use to update the data as well, right? This is how it works. Specifically, it's nothing, but it's very simple to just to understand because get means we are taking something or we are receiving some data, or post means we are sending some data, and deleting means we are deleting some resource from our server, and okay, put and patch are for the update one, right? So these are the basic methods, right? These are the methods of HTTP request. So yeah, we are done with this simple logic we did, like the operation. We retrieved the data, we updated the deleted the data as well. So for that we used the Postman because the post request we can't send from the Chrome browser. We can only send the get request from the Chrome browser because it's a client and we can send the get request to just retrieve the data from the server. So this is an example, but yeah, now we'll come to another things, right? We'll do one thing. We'll create a new controller called convert, not to convert, okay, joke generator, okay, joke controller. So this will gonna generate a joke and return that as we did yesterday. So we'll go to npm.js, and we'll find the package joke. So many more packages are there. Yesterday we had found a joke generator. Yeah, this one. So we'll just install this package joke generator, and for installing this, we'll copy this and we'll paste this into the terminal, and it's installing, right? So now we are again going to start the server npm start, and I'm going to create a controller function in this function joke controller, and we want the joke to return, right? Return a joke. So for that, we'll use the function which that joke controller provides. What is the function? We'll need to go to the node modules and we'll need to check joke. Yeah, this function is there, right? We'll use this only. We'll need to import this function. Once the joke is there, we'll return the joke directly, or we can even return the server response. Res dot send. Now I want this joke into an HTML form, right? So what I'll do, I'll use tilde. I'll create a HTML random joke, and this HTML will return this, right? A joke. Now we'll need to use request, comma response. Now we are going to export this module, joke controller. Okay. So we'll go to the server.js and we'll create app.get. Now the endpoint will be show me, sorry, tell me a joke, something. Tell me a joke, or in this, tell me a joke. So in this, we'll use that joke controller function directly. Okay. Now we'll hit a request onto this. Like we'll first hit a request from this postman. We are sending the request, and you can see it's gonna return us a joke in a while, right? We'll also send the same request on the browser as well. Tell me a joke. Once it generates a joke, it's gonna return that joke over here directly. Okay. So yeah, see what we are doing over here. Okay, so we imported the wrong function, right? This is not our function. Joke controller is there. We exported the joke controller, right? Want this only. Yeah. Let's send the request. You can see it's returning a random joke, right? Two guys walk into a bar, third guy ducked. It's again going to send me again another random joke. Okay, it's previewing the HTML over here. We can even check over here, right? It's gonna returning a random jokes for me on this page. Have you ever seen any joke generator on Google or any website or somewhere? So this is something like that. We just have created something. It's very simple. We just imported a library or a package from npm.js, and with the help of that package, it's generating the random jokes. And it is very simple to understand because it doesn't have that much of like efforts, because we are just importing the package, and as we imported the package, the package is going to return a result, right, with the help of a function. Apart from that, there is nothing, but many more small things are there which we need to understand, like the method, the HTTP method we are sending the request from, and many more things are there, right? Okay, so yeah, we'll come again to this one. Now you can see I was sending a get request from here, but if I'm sending a post request, so it's gonna tell me that you cannot post because we have not created a route called post for this endpoint. Am I right? It's very easy because we only have that get the method route created. Okay, so this is how it works. But yeah, still very like there are many interesting things yet to come. Yesterday we created a world clock. We'll again try to do something, right? Same. But today we'll pass the post request onto the server and it will return the world clock time to us directly, right? So time, time zone or something, yeah, time zone converter. It was the package. It will install this API to convert the time zone from one to another, right? Now we'll create a API which will be in a post API. So we'll send a post request, sorry, app.post. So this is the method which you can use to create a post API. In this will type convert time, and here we'll pass the function name. So now we'll create one more controller which is time controller.js. Okay, so in this we are going to again we need to install this package, right? So it's installed. We'll again start the server. Now in this time controller we'll create a function. Okay, now in this function we'll write convert time, and here we'll take request and response. Now we want the time zone from the body. So we'll do one thing, time zone equal to request dot body dot zone. Okay, so now we have time zone variable. So with this we'll do the further offering. So for that we'll go to the package and let's check what are the further things which are required. So we'll create a variable over here which is time const time equal to new date. So we want local time string. So we'll pass this only directly over here. So it's a global variable, right? So what we want is we are going to use these functions which this library provides to us. So first we'll import this library. Okay. We just want convert to time zone, not all time zone. Okay. So the format is this and two time zone. So we want this two time zone from our body. So we'll choose the variable which we have created, and then we have to show our own time zone, which is Asia Kolkata. So this is our current time zone, and we need to uh, pass the current time. Okay, so date and time. So we'll use this and we'll just change it as time. Now, once we are hitting the request, so it should return in response.json. Now converted date and time and to time zone. So that time zone will also show. It should have the current time in time. So we'll copy this and we'll export this function, export, convert time, and we'll use this function in our server time, convert time. Now it's imported. Yeah. So the endpoint is convert time, and it is a post endpoint. So we'll need to use this post endpoint into the postman, right? So now you can see it's saying that undefined. The zone is undefined because we have not mentioned the zone into the body. So for that, we'll need to come and we'll need to pass body. Okay. So now in this body, we need to pass the data, right, which is our time zone. So now I want to convert this time into the American time, right? So this is the American time zone. I'll paste this and I'm going to send a request, right? Oh, sorry, it's a zone. So now we have this post request, right? And we'll go to our code to convert time, and you can see it's going to ask request.body and zone, and then from that body it should return the zone, or we can even take the zone from the URL as well, because as we did earlier, params dot zone we can do, and we'll need to do one thing over here then. That is something that we are going to do over here, that iterate into this, because we are going to create a parameter called zone. Okay, so now we'll pass this zone from body to zone. So this is the path variable or path parameter we are sending this. This is our value, and you can see saying cannot post because the zone, and it should have to be the convert time endpoint with this, and you can see now we are there, right? So now you can see it's showing the time. The time in zone time is 1916, right? 1960. Okay, so this is our current time, right? In Asia, Kolkata. But in America, New York, we'll need to convert time, zone, taking the zone from that, right? So we'll console the zone directly over here, right? Console.log. Right. This is convert time and zone. It's correct, right? Yeah, it's even showing the zone, right? Converted time to. Okay, okay, 1 minute, right? This is something. This is again something we are doing, right? We can even write the time zone directly over here. Okay, because of this slash, it's not accepting it as the time zone, right? The reason behind that is because this America New York has a slash between this, so it's taking the New York as the second parameter into this URL, right? Because of that, it was showing the error, right? But it's okay. We can use another method. We are not going to use this the path parameter method, so we can use another one, right? Query, because it's not a big issue, right? Query. So if we are using query, so we can even do this same thing for that one, uh, the get request as well, right? So yeah, so let's say we have a query called zone, and in this zone we have this. We are sending this request. Now you can see it's showing the current time as well, right? So in the US, New York, what's our current time is on the clock. You can see uh, our current time is 7:20, and in the New York it's 9:50, and it's showing the correct time 9:50 or something, right? If I again I'm sending the request, so it's gonna change the time because of our time, right? So there's a little bit of difference, but yeah, it it's showing us the time, right? But what if now I want this request as get request? So what I need to do is I'll come over to the server.js. I'll change this post to direct get. So I did this, and I'll need to change this get. So it's showing the result, right? So same thing for here as well. Like if I'm testing this, you can see it's returning me the message that the time in America, New York is the current time. Okay, so this is how we can even build the APIs which can convert the time into different time zones and many more things. But it's just a starting, right? Okay, it's a beginning thing where what you can explore over here, right? Into the APIs. Okay, so but for that you need to install the Postman. For installing Postman, search postman.com and you can download it directly from the website, right? It is for the API because it's needed, and because of with this only you can work onto the APIs. Without this, you can't work onto the APIs, right? Okay, so this is how you can do. And apart from this, we'll again do an experiment of that world, like the country data. We'll again create a. We are doing the same things that we did yesterday, but this is we are doing into an a request response uh, thing, right? Country list, country time zones, country list. Okay, country list. This package we install today. Yeah, okay. I'm copying this npm install. Now we are going to paste this and it's installing. Now we'll create a controller, country controller, tree controller. So controller consists all the required function which are going to take control on the request, right? So we are going to create a function, uh, display this country flag. So request response, and now we are going to just use it, right? So what we'll do in the query, we'll pass the country flag, and we'll pass the country name, and we'll use the function from this package. The function name is get emoji flag, right? So we'll import this get emoji flag from. Okay, now it's imported, and we'll pass the country variable directly. So we want this into our response, so I'll do res dot send, and yeah, this is gonna return the emoji directly into the browser. So export, and this is our display country flag function is got exported, and in these app dot get, we'll create a get request. Now in this get request, uh, we'll create emoji flag. Okay, and now we'll use this that get emoji flag function directly over here, and yeah, it's imported. For this, it's asking for a parameter. This function is asked for the parameter. or what is that parameter is uh, country controller and display country flag. Okay, so it should have to be display country flag, and it's asking for the countries. Okay, so the get. So what is the endpoint is emoji flag, and it's needed the query parameter, right, which is country equal to, we want IN India. So will they start the server? Refresh this. So it is returning the Indian flag, right? If I want USA flag, so it's gonna return me USA flag only, right? Where is the flag? US or something, right? Ah, yeah, it's returning US flag. If I want Turkey flag, so it's returning TR flag. Okay, so this is how we can use the APIs to for different use cases. Like this is the emoji flag API which we have created. API means with that which can transfer the data across different nodes into the internet and web applications. That's all, right? Okay. So if you have any question, you can ask me. So I'll directly answer your question over there. Then. Okay. Apart from this, as we use this much of like now I want directly the data of the countries, like, so I'll create app dot get slash my, okay, I'll create an endpoint country data. So in this we'll create a function in our country controller. That function will return the country data, right, the full country data. So function get country data. So this is our function. We want this to send the country data directly. So what I'll do is we'll use the function get country data list. Okay. So what are the function they have given to us is get country code country data. Okay, this is the function we'll use, right? And this will pass the country. And once we have the country data, so in the response, then we'll directly pass the data into the JSON, right? And we'll export this function get country data. Now it's get country data. So this is the function we are going to import. Yeah, we imported this function. Now country data. What's that endpoint is country data, right? IN. We want this query, and then we want this to just to have the data over there. We can even do something like this console, sorry, res dot JSON, and in this directly we can have that get country data function. We will change the name of this function country data L. Okay, so this will be the local one only. And now we can import this from another site, right? Yeah, this is L. Remove this. Now you can see once we are hitting the request on country India, so it's returning that the data of the India, which is the name, native, phone number, the continent, which is Asia, New Delhi, currency, languages. If I want UA, so it's returning for the Ukraine. Okay, this is how it works, and it's very simple to understand. Like, so we can take any country's data, right? We can retrieve any country's data. If I want the data of OM, it's returning for Oman. If I want for SA, it's returning for Saudi Arabia. If I want for uh, GB, it's for the United Kingdom, right? Then, so this is very simple. We imported a package, we created controller function. This is how you can use packages with the controller function, okay? And we created the routes. So till now we have created this much of APIs, right? This much of APIs. It's very simple to just to understand, right? So you can see for joke, we have created a joke API for emoji for this country data. This was very simple. We imported some of the libraries and we created the functions. And this is how the exact Express.js works, right? And it's very simple, right? It's very simple to understand. And you can even have a look over here on basic routing, which is this link. I share you this link to the chat box as well. So you can have a little bit of look onto this. Okay. So here you'll understand a basic syntax of a request, right? So first we write app, which is our Express app. Then we write the HTTP method, which is post, put, delete, right? Then we write the path of the request where we are going to hit the request, but exactly the part of the request, and then we write a handler. Can be a arrow function or a function we are calling, or a module function or a controller function we are calling from any other file, or we are importing from any other file. So this was an example of get request, which is sending the hello world, right? So it has written app dot get, then there is a slash, so it's for the like your route, okay, the URL, and it's the arrow function passing the parameter request and response, and in the arrow function there is res dot send, means response dot send hello world is written over there. So all of the examples are there. See, this is just to retrieve the data, this to create a data onto the server, this is to update the data onto the server, this method used to then this method used to delete or update the resource or data onto the server. Hope you got it. Okay, so it's very easy to understand. I hope I'm audible, so I want to see your reactions right there. So how this works? Okay. So it's very simple. You just need to understand like what are the basic routing methods are there, which you can use to create the APIs, and the functions, right? Okay. So today we have seen many more things. So in this time we'll vision of that only. And from for tomorrow we'll have uh, like proper understanding of this MongoDB and Express together, how we can we can create the data in and update and delete the data into the database directly. Okay, and how we can connect this the React application with this Node.js, right? So we'll do that as well. So yesterday, as we did that React thing, right? So again, we are going to open that project right now, and we'll make some changes into that. So this was the React workshop project, which we at where we had created the student list, React state, the clock that day. So today we are going to create a component. So and now with this component, we connect our front end and back end together, right? So I'm going to write a component called server request server connection. Okay, this is our component name, server connection.js. And now in this, we are going to use the APIs which we have created right now. So these APIs in our React application. So see how we can do this, right? I'll create a function. So this will be our component function. Now in this, first we'll return our server details. Okay, I want to return the server URL. Server URL, which is gonna return our URL, right? So I'm going to create the server URL over here, a variable const URL. So this is our server URL. So this component is going to return that only. And now we are going to export this component, export default server connection. And in the app.js, we want this component to render. Okay, server connection. Now I'm going to start this application. npm start. Yes. Okay, now you can see it's returning the server connection and URL things. So now we'll add some of the CSS into this directly. So I'll use this student card CSS. I'll import that only. Import student card CSS, and we are going to use this only. Class name. Okay, we have heading. So yeah, now you can see the heading is in a bigger text. Also, we'll take this server URL into the bigger text. So for that, we'll do one thing. We'll also give the same class name to this as well. Yeah, now it's in a bigger font. So this is our server URL, and you can see this is our server URL showing over there, right? So one by one, we'll do some of the things, right? As we have, how many APIs we have in our web server? There are few APIs are there. Okay, so one API is for joke, one API is for the time, and there is one API for emoji flag and country data. So we'll do one thing. We'll take the students, right? The get students API will create a get student API, and we'll use this in our page, right? So for that, particularly now in the React, we are going to create uh, we already have created student list.js, right? Now we are just changing the data. We can even like here, let me remove this student list contains, and we want the student list in our server connection component, right? So I'll add an HR horizontal row tag. Okay. After this, again we'll create a heading, and in this heading we'll write, because student list from server, right? Student list from server. Now here we'll use the component student list.js. Okay. Now we are going to create a function, and in this function we don't want directly the list directly, but yeah, right now it is there. Now what we'll do, we'll call to our server, right? So what is our server URL is, we'll create const URL. So our server URL is localhost. This is our server URL. Okay. Now we want students, right, from our server. What is the endpoint in our server is, right? I think that is the students only. Yeah, this is the only one. Now in our React application, what we'll do, we'll create a function, right? Fetch URL. So this is our server URL, and now we'll pass some parameters. So our method is get, and our data will be coming into the JSON, right? So we'll create a variable const student data equal to, as we have seen yesterday, the React states there, right? So we'll import React, okay, directly use it and then we'll apply it, right? So const student and set students. Okay. So now we'll add a button over here. So we'll create a function, fetch students or something. This is our server configuration. I'll need to copy this. Okay. Now we can see we'll pass the server configurations. Now this is our function, and this is our fetch request. Go calling to this API. This get request going to complete this, right? Then there is headers are there, right? So now we'll call this function on click of this button, fetch students. So once the students are there into this students variable, so we'll map the students directly with this. We have this student HTML const. Okay, so I think there are some errors into the syntax. So I'll do one thing. I'll fix this with an inline fix command. So this is gonna fix the function using Copilot over here, right? Okay, it's fixed. Yeah, we'll put this directly here. So now now in the server connection, we are going to save this, and now we want the component student list. This is the component, and we'll refresh the server directly here, right? Now you can see when I'm clicking on this, it's going to take the data from the server directly. So in the network tab, right now we are clicking on this, but it's throwing in a course error, which is a policy. Course is a policy. Because of that, right now it's not taking the data from the same server, I think. But it's okay. This is how we can connect the APIs. Okay. So if I want to show you an example of like retrieving the student, okay, or retrieving uh, any data. So you just need to connect your React application with the backend, and you will be able to do everything over there directly, right? Okay. So course is a policy which which specifically secures the applications to share the data from one origin to another origin, right? You can see it's blocked by course policy because our origin is 3000 and this origin is localhost 3001. So both are the origins are different. Because of that, it's not allowing us to transfer data from one to another, but it's okay. This is how you can connect your front end. But tomorrow we are going to deploy this application on an URL on a server. So at that time, this error won't gonna happen, right? So what we did, we used an URL and uh, we sent a request onto that. And once we are having the request, we just updated the data into this HTML, and we are mapping this HTML directly over here. So this is something you can connect your front end with the back end, right? Apart from this, there's nothing. But in the Node.js, this is how you can create the APIs. So do you have any question with this? Because today we have created many APIs, and tomorrow we are going to use these APIs with the database as well. I want to see your reaction into the chat box directly. Did you got? Did you understood? Am I audible? Any doubt what we did today? It's very simple because today we have created these APIs, and we were trying to connect one of the API, which is the student API, with our React app, which we had created yesterday. But there's one problem is there because of that course policy, which is cross origin resource sharing policy. We are not able to share the resource together uh, with that one, right? But still, uh, we'll do that tomorrow, right? In a proper way, because we are going to host whatever we build, and I'm going to create a GitHub repository and to share all the codes with you all, so you can have a better understanding. Got it? Any doubt? So we today I'll take a revision. Today we created a server with the Express. So for that we installed the Express dependency or library or package into our server file uh, from npm. Then we have defined the port of our server, which is 3000, and we created some of the get request, delete request, post request. Okay, and our application we started onto the port 3000. Oh, so Apart from this, we have did same thing as we did yesterday, but we have created some of the get the CRUD APIs. We have created a mock data where we had few student list, and we created some of the controller function uh, to get student, to get one single student, to delete a student, to like add a student. So these was the functions we worked on today. And there is one time controller which we had created to convert the time with the help of API, and we were passing the time zone into our API request only. And same for the country controller as well. We created the APIs to display or to fetch the country flag and to get the country detail. So this is all we did today. So if you have any doubt, so you just ask me right now. So I'll uh, answer your question because we have 1 or 2 minutes remaining. So if you have any doubt, so you can ask me. Okay, I'll stop sharing. Got it? So I hope all of you got the concepts what we were learning today. So I think I want to see your reactions because tomorrow we are going to deploy this application on the server as well as we are going to create the APIs right somewhere and a lot of things, right? So I hope all of you will be are excited for this, right? So thank you so much for joining. See you tomorrow then. We'll tomorrow is the last day and we are going to do a lot of things with this expression out, right? Have a good day. Have a good night. Bye.